Welcome, welcome to Mindful Monday Live. My name is Takia, and I am a therapeutic kinetic specialist and a transformation facilitator. I absolutely love helping people to create a life that they love, to really hone in on their truest heart's desires and manifest them into a living experience. We have the power to do this. Tonight, I wanted to chat with you about something that really was a powerful tool that allowed me to have greater peace in my life and also um, create relationships that were more fluid and uh, reciprocal. And also, um, really, I think continues as I have more experiences and in different roles in my life to be a game changer. So if you saw the heading for today's Mindful Monday, you saw that it was really about perspective, and perspective is the filter, right? It is what colors all the information that we receive. It's what decides and determines how something lands for us. And in the picture, I found a couple of great pictures actually. In the picture I saw that I really thought did a wonderful job of kind of explaining and depicting this concept is when someone stands on one side and someone stands on the other of a six, the number six or the number nine, depending on which side you're on, it changes what it means, right? And so it depending on what viewpoint you look at something from, it could absolutely change what you see. And every experience that you've had up until now becomes the lens through which you see everything. See yourself, see the world, see others. And your perspective truly determines your experience because it determines how you perceive and receive. So how you pre so perspective, how you perceive, it's what you put before the experience even happened. It was your orientation, right? And while the experience is happening, it's then how you see yourself in that experience, others, and the world as it's unfolding. It's really, really important that we check in on our perspective to see if it's serving us, if it's allowing us to create the kind of life that we really, truly desire to live. And and so, when I became a caregiver, it had to be a conscious decision, or else I would have felt disempowered going into it, right? So I made a conscious decision to accept the role. And yesterday, I actually posted a reel, and it was one where I said, I needed to move. I felt it in my bones. I just needed to move because what I felt like was I was having some tightness in my body, some constriction, right? And the constriction was actually causing me to not be able to breathe deeply. And I have enough sensitivity about my experience in my body to know that when there's something constrictive happening, it's not just physical, right? If my innards, my inward, my inside, my inner space is feeling constricted, then there's something inside me that's doing the constricting. And so what I've realized is that because we're just in such an information overload, we need more space in order to receive our experiences and determine if our perspective is the one that serves us. If you ever heard the term holding space, it gets thrown around a lot, and almost every spiritual community I've ever entered, at some point I hear the phrase holding space. And if you're not familiar with it, it really is about having and creating a container, right, for someone to be fully expressed, to have an experience without your own triggers and trauma and past experience deciding for them what kind of experience they're going to have, without you imparting your agenda. So it's the ability to have the ability to experience the full capacity of an experience in a moment, in a space of neutrality, right? So if I go into an experience with all of my agendas, I'm going to try to manipulate that experience to fit the agenda, versus just going into an experience with my presence. And this might be a foreign concept because we're often conditioned to prepare ourselves for the experience. And if we are entering into this experience with other people, there needs to be room for them to have the experience that they came for without your agenda. So if I have a friend who's sharing a painful experience with me, and I already decide that I'm going to fix their problem, I've just actually created another problem. And I'll get to that in just a second. So space in general can really do a lot for us. And yesterday I was feeling like I needed more inner space. And I'll share with you a little later also the ways that I create my inner space. But we have just emails, and we have text messages, and we have TV, and we have phones that are can see the whole world with a click of a button. It can receive information in a millisecond, right? And we can take in lots and lots of data. And then on top of the information that's always flowing to us through devices, we also have jobs. We are answering emails, we're in meetings, we're learning things to better ourselves for our job. We're taking classes for our next degree. We're also learning how to be better parents, we're learning a lot. And every day we learn a lot about ourselves. We learn a lot about other people. We're taking in emotional information. And for those of you who are empaths, you know, and to some degree we're all a bit empathic, but you realize that when we have an experience and we're just being, we are part of a connected infinite field, right? Or if you want to look at it from a more spiritual perspective, we are connected, right? We're one. So we individuate to have individual experiences, or you can look at it like you have a soul and your soul has a body, right? We are all having our own experience here, yet we are connected in many ways. And because we are so similar in our physicality, we communicate in ways that we are often unaware that we're communicating. And I think it would behoove us and it would benefit us to really become more aware of these ways that we communicate and the ways that we're being communicated to, and really cultivate a sensitivity for our sense of what I call fullness, right? How much space do we have? I started to say, I use the languaging that I feel full. I feel full, like, and this is I feel full up to here. Like you've heard the term, I've had it up to here with you, right? Well, when I feel full, I know that I need space. And I start to feel it coming, and I start to feel, myself filling up, meaning I haven't had time to digest all of the things that I've intaken. Because the fact is that we are what we take in and assimilate and don't eliminate, right? So whether it's information in the form of data that we're using our cognitive powers to discern, to understand, to calculate, right? We're always doing something. And we also are deciding how we feel, and we're having feelings about things, and we're sharing how we feel, and people are telling us how they feel. So we're receiving all kinds of information on different levels and aspects of our person and our being. And sometimes it can just feel like it's too much and we need more space. So, when you hear about people getting burnt out, a lot of times they kept going and going and going, intaking more and more and more, and had no balance on intake and output. They had no balance on movement and rest, right? And so we need both. We need that balance we need to replenish, but before we can take more in, we have to digest what we've already eaten. So just to revisit, having the ability to hold this kind of internal neutrality means that we have to have the space to do so. We have to be able to not be so full of our own stuff that we can't have an experience with another person without putting it on them. Right? And so can you see how it could be really important to understand how it feels when you're feeling full, when you need space? And then not just to notice that, but then to take aligned action to support yourself so that you can show up in presence once again. So, I think a lot of times we kind of confuse, our way. We think that we have to be superhuman and be able to handle it all. And we really don't. It's not about having to be able to handle it all. It's about really being able to know your own humanity and your own power, and to move with it in a way that feels good to you, to notice what it feels like when you are losing capacity, when your bandwidth is being stretched, and whether it's something that is beneficial, like to be able to stretch in that way can be a good thing. It also, when it's getting to the point where, okay, I know I'm being stretched here, and now it's time to take a break. Sometimes you just need to, when I say take a break, I mean break the input, break the flow of the input, so that you have time to digest what you've already taken in. So, because most of us are so overloaded with information, and we feel like we have little time, it can feel like we're always kind of under the gun or under pressure. And to relieve that pressure, we need to express. So X the pressure, right? Express. And some of us already know ways that we can kind of relieve the pressure, where we take a break, stop the input. We might go to the gym, we might go for a walk, right? We might go to, somewhere where you're just able to just have fun, like a park or an amusement park, or some of us kind of go into a mindless game or go to mindless television. It's our way of limiting the input that we care about, right? The things that we have to spend time with and poke around at and decide if it's important for us and to us or not. Because we during this digestion, it is where we are able to decide what is wasteful for our time and energy and what is useful versus engaging with it all the time. I can't express enough how important it is. Because whatever we don't excrete, it will absolutely come out in some other way, and usually in moments when we least expect it and when we least desire it to, and in ways that we regret. So, space equals digestion, right? The ability, the space, the room to just be with what you already have and let it pass through and absorb the nutrients, the good things that are going to bolster us and move us in the direction of our truest desires and intention. And we are able then to better be in coherence. So in coherence, in alignment with our heart. So when I say coherence, I mean that our thoughts and our emotions and our actions are all communicating the same thing, right? So we're not thinking one thing, saying another, which you can often feel inner conflict happening. And often it can be felt outside of you because our nervous systems communicate with each other's nervous systems. Have you ever, been around someone whose energies just didn't feel right? Or you could just you just didn't believe them when they were talking, or you just didn't enjoy being in their company because perhaps who they were showing up as in their words was not what they were backing up with their body language, or perhaps it in their actions outside of that moment weren't supporting what they were saying that they were about. Right? We've all been in that situation. Sometimes we're that person. Sometimes, we are, for some reason or another, likely some kind of subconscious agenda, which I'll tell you about on another time. But you kind of get the idea. Like there are ways that we are being right now that really aren't who we would choose to be if we were to step back and look at it and sense how we're feeling inside about how we're being. Like, there's a storm happening outside. I just saw lightning. For example, when we're standing in line and for at the register and we're being really, really impatient. Maybe we had a rough day. Maybe we're making sounds, huffing, puffing. Maybe we're making commentary. Maybe we're giving looks, looks like, oh my God, right? And so if we were to be able to step back or rise up to our higher self and ask ourselves some questions like, what would love do? Am I really in a hurry? I wonder how they're feeling right now. I wonder how I could bring some goodness to this space right now. I wonder how I could be the thermostat instead of the thermometer. I wonder how I could set the energetic tone for a world that I like to create. Right? We could start asking higher questions, right? Higher questions meaning another level of consciousness, right? Awareness of the truth, which is that time is a construct, And so any impatience we're feeling is usually coming from something else. It's really not about that moment, but we're feeling some other emotion that we haven't fully processed or digested that's causing us to show up in this impatient manner in this moment. So I know there's so much to us. We're so multifaceted. I love us. We are amazing. And so all of that to say that when we are able to be in alignment and have our mind and our body and our emotions be in alignment, or our thoughts, our words, and our actions be in alignment, there's a sense of ease and peace and a vibration that most people want to be around, and that we included also want to be around. When there is a sense of flow and connection and coherence and congruence about things, we enjoy it more. You know, when it's disjointed and not quite right, we question it, we fear it. It can become stressful, right? So our nervous system is really an alarm system. It can tell us, you know, and it can give us good information about what's going on in our environment. It can also tell us in our environment externally and internally, and it can also give us a really good insight into where we need to put some attention for our well-being. You know, our it's the same as your chakra system, right? We have these energy centers that affect, you know, glandular and muscular constructs up and down this this kind of line of energy, these spinning, you know, discs of energy that are really sending out our presence, right? It's how our presence is conducted, right? And so it's like the aura, or the it's the energy that people feel from us. And so when our chakras are aligned, the likelihood of us being aligned in thought, word, and deed are also very likely. I want to tell you that when I used to do body work as a profession, when someone would come in to see me, I would have this kind of expectation already, a perception that it was my job to solve their problem. It's not unreasonable. But I tell you what, when I changed that perspective, it changed everything. We generally kind of live in this kind of westernized energy of fixing. Our whole healthcare system is built on fixing. And rather than looking at the whole system, right, it looks at the thing that we perceive as wrong, and we try to fix it in isolation is what we do, which, you know, is, when you think about it in long term, you know, in the moment, and, you know, addressing something with acute threat to life is understandable, but looking for long-term solution, it's not sustainable, right? Because every system affects every other. There really is no separation. Mind, body is the same. So if there is a problem with the body, there is also something happening in the mind that is coinciding with what's happening in the body. And so here's the perspective change. Going from thinking that we have to fix things, people, us, situations, to one of presence. And in this presence, we honor the innate wisdom of every being. Honor the innate wisdom of the human in front of us. Honor the innate wisdom of the human being that we are. It changes everything. I went into caregiving with this perspective, and it has made all the difference. Rather than seeing the person I'm caring for as a victim, I see her as a powerful creator, right? A unique soul that was sent here for a purpose, who has the power to self-heal, as we all do. And my job is simply to offer care. I'm not a caretaker. I'm not taking her ownership of her care away from her. I'm simply giving care where it's needed as I'm able. It changes how I engage. It changes what responsibilities I take on. It changes the expectation I have of the engagement. It changes everything. And this can be applied to any relationship, the one with yourself, the one with any other human, in any job, right? And so it really has been a game changer. And what's funny is that it gets reinforced everywhere I go. I hear it everywhere, I go now, right? It's just because it's like punch buggy, right? You see it once it's becomes how you are, it shows up for you, affirms you. You get to see it happening, unfolding everywhere. And you can also see where it could be used to improve things, or you see where it could be used, but you don't necessarily feel like you have to do something about it. That's the difference. And that's the pull that takes us to full, right? Feeling like we have to, we should, because we can. And also feeling that way when we can't, right? Do you know that pressure that we put on ourselves when there's nothing we can do to change it? It's not our responsibility to change it, but we still feel like we should. Right? That's a deep internal pressure that we put on ourselves that can be shifted if we're able to see ourselves as a powerful creator, and then also, if you want to say any other human being, individual soul, participating in this engagement also as a powerful creator. And it can also be a really amazing intimacy creator. So, when a friend comes to us with what they see as a challenge, or just when they come to us and ask to talk, do we automatically go into that conversation with the idea that it's our job to fix their problem? Or are we able to listen from a place of neutral consciousness, of agendaless presence, and just hold space for them and allow them to fully express? You ever notice when you're quiet and you allow someone to fully express, if they go through their entire unfoldment and release of the initial energy, a lot of times they arrive at their own solution at the end of it. You ever notice that? Right? And you hear lots of jokes like about therapy and them asking, so how do you feel about that? Because they're holding space. They're giving someone the ability to unfold their own situation, to express themselves so they can get out of their body, and then they can have some space between themselves and the experience enough to see it for what it is and then make choices. Right? Because when it's all in here and they feel full, they feel constricted and they don't feel like they have choice. But once you express and it's out in the space, then you can see the difference between you and it. Because when it's in here, sometimes it feels like there's no separation. It is you. And so can you imagine how your relationships could change if, when someone brought to you something they wanted to share, it wasn't an immediate decision that it was your job to fix it? Like your response wasn't automatically trying to solve, but rather truly just listening without judging it, making them wrong for it, or making them right for it, or agreeing or disagreeing, but simply holding space and acknowledging their experience with your presence. Our presence is the most powerful gift we can give anyone. So many people just want to feel heard, and they don't even want an answer. but they just want the experience of expressing and getting it out of their body. Because it is a visceral experience to have pent up emotion that you feel like you can't share, right? You understand that pressured feeling that you have when you feel like you can't tell anyone the thing, right? It can literally devolve you. It can eat you up from the inside. And it causes people to have panic attacks. It causes people, to kind of lose, like separate their realities, split aspects of themselves, right? You've heard of parts work, maybe, where you have aspects of self that actually come into an experience and take over in order to save us. That's a conversation for another day. I've experienced that too. And when I healed that and got in harmony internally. Game changer, changed my love life like a million times over. I'll share that with you sometime. But it's important that we are able to bring ourselves into harmony, into alignment, where our thoughts, our words, and our deeds are all in alignment so that we feel congruent. Because when we don't feel congruent, we feel like we're not listening to ourselves. We feel like we can't trust ourselves. We're not in our hearts, so we're not on purpose. There's so many levels of our selves that get touched by our lack of congruence. It's important if we just work on one thing, and that's alignment of our being with our heart. It's simple. And it might not be easy, right? Everything simple isn't easy, but it can be simple. If you know the intention, then every action then can be geared toward that one direction versus having, duplicity and multiple other outcomes that we're chasing, right? If we know this one intention, which is to be an experience of our wholeness, is to let go of what's in the way of our access to our wholeness, then we know that our actions can also be attuned to that. And you can ask a question. You can say, does this feel good to me? How does this decision feel? If I say yes, what does yes to this feel like? You will get an answer. Your body will respond. You will always get the truth from your soma, from your body. Will always tell your nervous system will tell you exactly what you need to know, whether if it's the thing or it's not the thing. If you feel expansive and light and you feel like your whole body's saying yes, then it's a yes. If there is any inkling of doubt or hesitation, immediately, right? Because immediately is our first, if you ever heard them, someone say, when in doubt, choose C, or when in doubt, go with your first thought. Your first thought is that unencumbered, intuitive hit that we get. And then what happens after that comes, then we start pouring our cognition and our brain and our past and all thing, and we dampen that down. Then we make a decision from that place rather than just going with our gut feeling, right? The thing that we felt was the right thing in the beginning, which ultimately at the end of the experience, we're going to find was probably the thing. It's usually how it works. That's the path of like learning to trust yourself, is making enough of those decisions that are out of the pain after you've already, when you knew that your heart wanted something and then you didn't do it, right? And then you're like, oh, I just followed my heart, right? And then you do that enough times, and then you just do it. You just listen to your heart, even when it doesn't make sense to your brain. It can be said that confusion is your head trying to convince your heart of something it knows isn't the truth, right? The only time we're confused is we're not listening to our heart. It's the only time. When we can only get confused in our mind. Our heart is never confused. So I will say that this shift out of fix-it mentality, this shift in honoring the innate wisdom and the power in every human, has really allowed me to have my own experience with more ease and flow, have more peace, to really hold space for a wide range and number of people in a way that they need too. I can be of service in this way because not bringing my agenda to the conversation or the space. And people feel like they can tell me anything, or they can just be completely themselves, and they don't even know why exactly in their head, but they feel like they can. And so they do. Does that make sense? You picking up what I'm putting down? Are you with me? Is it landing for you? So what a gift it is that while someone's expressing to us what's going on for them, that we truly just listen and not have our own answer or opinions pouring out in our first response to them without their asking us for an answer. So a lot of times, if we're just able to just be there for someone, it's the greatest gift we can give them. And sometimes we don't see that as a gift because we think that we have to be doing something actively or fixing it or, moving. But the thing is, we are mirrors for each other. So allowing someone to see themselves reflected back, it's powerful. It is powerful. They just need to be able to see more clearly. And expressing our emotion, which energy and motion out of our bodies clears our minds. It clears our vision. It allows us to see the truth. So if I were to offer any gift tonight, it would be this: to honor your own capacity, your own capability, to honor yourself as a powerful creator, honor your heart and your thought, your word and your deed, and to offer others the same gift. Our job isn't to fix, it's to love. And so it can be pretty simple, even if it's not always easy. All right. How's that feeling, guys? I feel pretty complete with that. I feel pretty complete. Well, it's been my honor and pleasure to be here with you tonight. And thanks for listening, for stopping by. Appreciate your presence here. And I look forward to talking with you again soon. Leave a comment. I'll come back and I'll read them. If anything landed for you, please let me know. And if you have something you want to share, I'm glad to honor it as well as your experience in the world. Any questions also, I'm happy to answer. Lots of love to you. If no one has told you, I love you. And as I believe in our unity, ultimately, there is only one of us here. Keep it juicy and honor your heart. Peace.